So we have actually a landmark story. I don't know if this has happened in the last 10, 15, 20 years. We have justice for a unarmed African American who was killed by a police officer. So in this case, the victim's name was Walter Scott. He was a father, son, all around good person from all accounts. Taken too early by Officer Michael T. Slager of the North Charleston, South Carolina Police Department. This was back in April of 2015, and Walter Scott was pulled over by Officer Slager in a parking lot. They exchanged some words. Apparently, Walter Scott doesn't have insurance, and they go back and forth for a bit longer. Slager returns to his car, and you can tell Scott is a little worried about the situation, and his car is kind of like looking back and forth, and then he just bolts for it. Not advisable to anybody in any situation. Never run from a cop. But that being said, it's not a fucking death penalty to run from a police officer. And for whatever reason, so many police officers think that it does warrant a death penalty. And they think you deserve to die because you had the audacity, you had the gall to run away from me. Boy, don't you know your authority? I'm the fucking law here. You listen to everything we say. And you see that in every situation where these cops go on these fucking power trips. You put your hands behind your goddamn back. And they're like fucking shot, bleeding out, regurgitating blood. They can barely fucking stay conscious. And in this case, you see Officer Slager dump 8 shots into Walter Scott. What's he do? Does he go up to render aid? No. Does he call for an ambulance? No. Does he freak out and like, oh my god, what did I do? What did I do? Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. No. He went up to Walter Scott's body, took out his taser, and planted it right next to him. So, he could get off. And, if it wasn't for the guy who filmed this thing, he's walking free. There's nobody who's going to hold this guy accountable. All you have to do is say, I feared for my life, and it seems to be this magical thing when you get to go on vacation. You don't have to go on the beat. You might be able to work at the desk for a few days. Might be a little kickback. Might be a little refreshing, Get into the office early, leave early. Not a bad trade-off. No. I mean, these guys just abuse the fuck out of the power they have and assume that it's never going to come back to haunt them. They assume, they just start with the position of, oh, I'm not going to be in trouble for this. Well, I'm sure I'll get off. And he almost did. He almost slipped through the cracks. This motherfucker almost got away. If it was just charged or tried in the state court, where just a few months ago, or just December of last year, actually, they found him not guilty by a hung jury. And, the juror couldn't make up his mind, couldn't charge a cop with it. Maybe his dad was a cop. Maybe he saw himself in the cop. Who knows? Maybe he's just a racist piece of shit. That could be an option too. Couldn't let the cop suffer his consequences of wouldn't fucking let him sleep in the bed he made. And now we, luckily, had the second option of trying this at a federal level. So he actually was charged with quite a few things, but like violating the civil rights of Walter Scott is what he ended up pleading guilty to. When you plead guilty, of course, you're going to get a reduced sentence or you're going to get charges dropped. It's a deal. You make a deal with the prosecutor. You say, I'm going to come clean. I'm going to give you what you want, but, you got to help me out too. Works both ways. So I'll take a plea and I'll take 20 years, which is what he ended up getting. He actually ended up being charged under a second-degree murder charge. I don't know exactly how that works. Apparently it was used for sentencing reasons, even though he wasn't actually pleading guilty to murder when he pled guilty. So that's an oddity in the story, but other than that, we'll take it. Because when else have we seen when else have we seen justice? When else are we going to get justice? if there's one thing Walter Scott's life can, be used for good, and, we can continue his legacy through, is just holding cops accountable. If you're a cop, hold your buddies accountable. Hold yourself accountable. You should hold yourself to pretty high standards, and I'm sure a lot of cops out there do. I know a lot of cops out there do. But we're talking about a healthy 5, 10, 15% of the police force. And it could be 50% in a shitty area, who knows? But a certain percentage of them are just bad apples. And it's not just a few bad apples. That's not where the saying ends. It's a few bad apples spoil the barrel. Because when you have a cop that's rotting out the public's trust in the police, when we go on Facebook every day and we see people getting murdered by cops, and then you have all this tension building up between races, white and black, and white cops against black everybody. It becomes a hectic situation, and everybody's just jumping to one side, and they're like, oh, Black Lives Matter are just stupid. And they have to be on one extreme or the other, and we can't all come together and find some common agreement where we just say, yes, this is a problem. It exists separate from and just totally mutually exclusive of every other problem we're talking about. We're talking about black people getting killed by cops. That's it. Should be a pretty simple, easy thing for us to solve, but of course we still have half a monkey brain, and we're not that far forward as a society. So, with that caveat, we'll take the 20 years and wake up, everybody, because this is reality. It's not like this is a made-up liberal hoax. This is what people are living with in their day-to-day lives. It may not even be getting murdered, may be getting harassed or pulled over 30 times. And if you haven't lived that life, you can't expect to know what it's going to be like. It's the old saying, you have to walk a mile in somebody's shoes. So a little step back and some perspective, and a long look in the mirror for cops out there.